Total Screen proudly presents the Weekly Set Podcast with Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Episode 202, recorded April 12th, 2019. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Set, the official podcast of the Total Screen. I am your host. My name is Tyson, and joining me today, as always, is my partner in crime at the Total Screen, William Rohrig.
Hello.
So today we are going to be talking about The Magicians, as usual, the penultimate episode of the season. But before that, we have a few other things to go over. We have a news story, and we have some predictions. So let's start with the news story. Disney Plus. They just rolled out a shitload of details for that service. Just to go over some of the really, really basic stuff first. It's going to launch on November 12th. It's going to be $7 a month, but you can buy an annual plan for $70 a year, which will save you $14.
Which is really great.
Yes. That's an initial price. They might raise it the way like Netflix consistently does over time, but that's what it's going to cost at launch. So it might be wise just to buy the $70 a year if you want to invest, just because not only will you save the 14, but you're guaranteed a year without them raising the rate.
I mean, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be paying, I'm going to treat it like PlayStation Plus or Xbox and just pay the $70 a year.
It looks like it just might be enough to warrant a year for me. It's a little bit shy of how much I'd normally like get a service for, but at the $70 a year rate, I think it's good enough. Like
I think, well, for me, I think it's got great content. It's cheaper. It's cheaper than even Hulu. It's cheaper than Hulu or Netflix. So
speaking of Hulu, you have a subscription to Hulu right now, right?
Yes.
So they're going to have bundles. Apparently, this is like not confirmed completely yet, but basically they're talking about it, about doing bundles with Hulu and ESPN, or just Hulu or just ESPN, along with Disney Plus to save even more money. So you could like bundle Disney Plus and Hulu together and get like it wouldn't be the same rate as just Disney Plus. It would be a higher rate, but it would be you get both services. Just
I already have both services.
Yeah.
In fact, I have I'm using Hulu for my cable service now, so I have their Hulu TV, which is
so at that point, bundling up is just going to kind of make sense for you.
Yeah,
because you're going to save $14 by going annual, but you could save even more by bundling.
So that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm pretty excited about it, having access to all the Disney movies, all the Star Wars movies.
It'd be nice to have all the Marvel movies in one place, because I tried to do a marathon, like before Infinity War came out. I'm like, I'm going to watch all the Marvel movies, just like, one every couple days ahead of time, and I just couldn't find them all. Like, it was hard. Like, the most recent ones were on Netflix, and some other ones were on some other stuff, and some just weren't there at all.
Yeah, you can't. And also, if you were to try and go to a store, like, say, Walmart, and buy them all, you can't do that either. They're not all available for purchase all at once. Like, if you went online, you probably, but like...
So here's a question. Are they going to license content in the way that, like, Netflix is mostly originals now, that's like their focus, but they license content too. Wouldn't it make sense if they, like, licensed, for instance, streaming rights for Spider-Man, like the Spider-Man movies?
Disney has not discussed licensing or like seeking licensed content from other providers. Disney is very much basing this off of content that they own.
Mm-hmm. I understand that for most of the stuff, but for instance, Spider-Man Far From Home, licensing that and the next one, and the previous one, Homecoming, would complete the MCU on their service.
Yeah, I don't think they're too worried about that, to be honest. At this point in time.
I'd hope they would, because it's still going to be a pain to do an MCU marathon.
I actually own all the movies on my Vudu account, so I'm good there. But I have all these movies, so I don't really need a streaming service to watch all these movies, but I am interested in the original MCU content that's coming. They announced, I think, at least 3 series.
Three live action series. So there's some other Marvel shows as well, like animated and unscripted ones.
Let's go over the live action ones. So they got...
Those are the big ones, yeah. You have the Loki series.
WandaVision.
Yeah, that's going to be in year 2.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That's year one. So that's going to be the first one we get, surprisingly. Because Loki's the one that we knew about, like, way before any of the others.
Yeah, I thought Loki was good. Yeah, and we're going to get Loki. And actually, like, the one I'm most excited for is actually the animated one, which is, like, What If.
Oh, yeah, the Marvel What If series. That's going to be year one as well. Like, Winter Soldier, Falcon series, and What If.
And What If. And What If was, like, one of my favorite Marvel comics back in the day. And so I can't wait to see what they do with that.
Yep, Marvel is going to be part of, they have like if you've seen like pictures of the app, it's got kind of like 4 main headers that they have. One's Disney, then Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars / Lucasfilm, and the National Geographic.
And the National, yeah.
But it's kind of like, I saw that, I'm like, that makes sense. Like in a way that most streaming services, like it wouldn't, like it wouldn't make sense for Marvel to try to divide up their content like that. But for Disney, like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. You have these, so if you only care about Marvel and you don't give a shit about that, you pop into that app, hit that Marvel header, and that's all you see.
Yep, then you get all Marvel content. Like, I love that they have it segregated like that, because Disney knows that these things don't necessarily share audiences. People interested in Star Wars aren't necessarily Marvel fans. They're not gonna watch the MCU content, but they'll watch The Mandalorian, and they'll watch the movies over again.
That's what we should mention also, is none of the Marvel series are going to be at the launch of the service.
Right.
So a few of them are going to be year one, but none at the launch of the service. But one of the Star Wars series is, and that's The Mandalorian, is going to be available at launch.
Yes.
And then the Rogue One prequel series was confirmed with Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk as well, reprising the roles from Rogue One, and that's going to be a year 2 series.
Yeah, and that's going to be a year 2 series. So we're going to get some Star Wars series as well, and on the Disney side of it, Disney is going to have all their movies in the Signature Collection, as well as all the Pixar films.
Yes. Well, and speaking of Pixar, there's going to be a number of Pixar shows as well that are going to be unique to the series originals. There's a few of them are at launch, actually. So they're going to have a Toy Story spin-off series called Forky Asks a Question. Forky being the new main character or major character in Toy Story 4. So he's going to have like a spin-off series. They're going to have a spin-off series called Spark Shorts. That's going to be just like short Pixar films, like what we've seen before Pixar movies when you go to the theater.
Yeah.
They're going to have like, an anthology series basically of shorts like that. Not just all from Pixar, but some from like up and coming talent and stuff that they've kind of, I guess, hired on and bought the rights to those shorts. And then in year 1, there's some more Pixar shows coming. Lamp Life, which is another Toy Story spinoff that follows Bo Peep, who hasn't been in the series since Toy Story 2 and is back in Toy Story 4. So you're going to see her adventures during Toy Story 3, I guess. And Monsters at Work, which is a Monsters, Inc. spinoff series.
Yes.
So if you're into Pixar, all that is year 1. Like some of those are going to be at launch, but all of those are year 1. So quite a few. A few other major live action series are going to be there that just don't really kind of match with our interest. Is a High School Musical series.
Yeah.
That's going to be available at launch. And then there's a series called Diary of a Female President that's being produced by Gina Rodriguez that follows a 12-year-old Cuban-American girl who is, like, I guess, destined to one day become president.
I don't understand that part.
They're going to go through kind of like her life, like in the things that make her somebody who wants to become president.
Sure. Whatever.
So, I guess.
Yeah.
Not really our kind of stuff. There's also a few unscripted shows, just to kind of run through them pretty quickly. Some of them are actually Marvel related, so we'll go through them pretty quickly. But the first series is called Encore, and this is going to be hosted by Kristen Bell. And it's kind of an interesting idea. Like, I don't want to watch this show, but I just think the idea is kind of interesting. Is that they're going to reunite like a high school musical production and then have like an encore like years later. So that like they're going to track down and say, oh, this high school did a production of this, and they're going to track down all the adults that were kids in this production and do an encore PowerPoint presentation, but much bigger scale.
Oh, okay, that sounds weird, though. Okay.
That's the thing. It's a cool idea, but it's not something I have any interest in watching. Like it's just enough for me to go, oh, that's clever.
That's neat.
And that's it.
I don't think I care about some random school's high school production being made by Disney, but
I just think it's interesting that it exists.
Right.
And that's about as far as it goes. But that's going to be at the launch of the service as well. And then there's also Untitled Walt Disney Imagineering documentary series, which is about Disney's Imagineers. That's going to be at launch.
Which is cool if you like that behind the scenes like stuff at how Disney films.
There's quite a bit of that actually, of like behind the scenes kind of stuff and this unscripted. Marvel's Hero Project, which is going to be celebrating local heroes. That's going to be at launch. They tied Marvel to it, but it's pretty much just like, when you watch the local news and they say, and here's our hero of the week or something.
Yeah.
And do like a little news piece about somebody that gave away food to, families.
I think there was something called Marvel 616.
Yes, that's another one. That's going to be exploring the cultural context behind Marvel stories.
Okay.
That could actually be interesting. Like where because I've seen some things, like I watched a thing where they were talking about kind of the creation of Captain America, and they were talking about World War II and the influence it had on the artists and the writers, and that was kind of interesting to see. So this is kind of basically in line with that. Like it's going to say this is why this character was created and this storyline was created and what was happening in the real world that reflected this.
Oh, I see. So basically, like what inspired these characters, and what was happening during the time that these characters were created.
So I'm wondering, is 616, is that like a New York area code or something?
It must be. I don't know. Well, if you're a Marvel nerd, if you've been a long-time Marvel nerd, you know that Earth 616. 616 is the official name of the main continuity of Marvel Comics.
Oh, okay.
So when you say like Marvel Earth 616, you're talking about the normal comics, and then there was the Ultimate Universe, and then anything happening outside of that is its own universe. So that's where that comes. I don't know, but that's a good question because I don't know where 616 came from. I think the term was actually first used in a story that Alan Moore wrote for Captain Britain's story in Marvel UK anthology.
See, I was just thinking area code because our area code where I live is 661.
Okay.
So it's really close.
Well, yeah, it's definitely not an area code because it comes from Alan Moore. So
okay. I was thinking that just because I know a lot of the Marvel stuff is very central to New York, and it's very much about these different New York boroughs. So I wondered if maybe 616 is an area code that kind of links that together or something that had some meaning to early Marvel creators or something. But this looks like that's not the case. Unless it is some sly reference that he made, because he knew about it, or I don't know. But probably not.
I don't know. He's a guy living in Britain, writing for a British anthology magazine about a British character, so I doubt it has anything to do with New York.
That's true.
Yeah.
Some other ones, and one that looks kind of interesting just because of who's in it is The World According to Jeff Goldblum, which is going to be like him, exploring kind of popular things, I guess, like ice cream it used as one example or something, and kind of exploring kind of maybe the history of it.
That actually has the potential to be fascinating just because
it's Jeff Goldblum.
It's Jeff Goldblum, yeah. If you've seen Jeff Goldblum recently in interviews or something, he's a bit eccentric.
Yeah, exactly. That's what could make it interesting is you have somebody like Jeff Goldblum dissecting these ideas or these concepts,
Right.
And seeing things from his angle, from his point of view would be kind of fascinating.
Right.
I listened to he was on Conan's podcast not too long ago, and it was great. They have great chemistry together, so it was really fascinating listening to it. Let's see, Be Our Chef. This is a food competition series. And you know how Disney World in Florida, they have this crazy foodie culture thing in Disney World. They have this whole nightlife part. They have a food festival every year that's huge.
I know apparently from going there that you have to get reservations to Be Our Guest, which is Be Our Guest is a restaurant that is it's a replica of the Beast Castle, and it's huge. huge, and you go in there, and you order your food and you're served your food, but it's like it's all Beauty and the Beast theme,
and it's supposed to be like really, really good food. Like,
yeah, it was all right.
I haven't had it, so I just know like in Disney World, Florida in general, there's supposed to be like a lot of really good food.
Right. Yeah, the food was pretty good. I wasn't necessarily blown away by what I got.
Did you try the gray stuff?
Because it was like a sandwich. It was like a ham and cheese sandwich, but they called it something else on the menu, and I thought, oh, that's fancy. I'll get that. And then it's like, oh, it's a ham and cheese sandwich. I'm like, it's a ham and cheese sandwich.
Would it have like cheese crusted on the outside?
Yeah.
There's a French sandwich called I forgot what it's called. It's like a
yeah, it was like
something. It starts with a Q.
Okay,
and that's like it's a ham and cheese. It's like a grilled cheese sandwich, but with cheese crusted on the outside.
Okay, yeah, it was like some like fancy French name, and I just thought, oh, that sounds fancy. I'll get that. And then it's like, oh, wait, this is just a ham and cheese sandwich.
You didn't try the gray stuff?
There's nothing. What's the gray stuff?
That's from, there's like a moment in the song where like the candlestick guy says, try the gray stuff. It's delicious or something. And it became like they made this food called the gray stuff that
I don't recall.
Totally really good.
I don't recall seeing anything named the gray stuff on the menu, but I could just have overlooked it.
Would have been under desserts. I don't know.
Okay, maybe.
Like maybe you were just like, oh, this was okay. I'm ready to go. And whoever you're with was like, do you want to get dessert? And you're like, no, I'll just get like a churro.
I did get dessert, but I forgot what I got, but it was delicious. And
maybe you had the gray stuff and you just don't remember.
Yeah.
But anyways, this show's called Be Our Chef.
Okay.
And it's a Disney World cooking competition, basically to create the next Disney-inspired dish that they'll sell at the theme park. Maybe at the Be Our Guest restaurant, maybe somewhere else.
Right.
But, they do all sorts of crazy stuff. I mean,
from
Dole
the
Whip was
title,
at Disneyland, and they also did like those giant turkey legs. And
oh my God, I got the Dole Whip. Dole Whip's great. I had to get that. That was like my mission. I was like, the whole time I was like, I'm not leaving this place till I get a Dole Whip.
Here's two pro tips for Dole Whip. They do have it at other places. Occasionally it's at Menchie's.
Really?
So you can call up Menchie's and ask them if they have it. Here's the better pro tip though, is that Dole Whip is good. What's even better is a blended Dole Whip float.
Can't you just like make it? It's just like Dole pineapple juice.
No, it's got other stuff in it. I've seen some recipes for it. It's a little different.
Oh, really?
But a blended Dole Whip float, which is even better, and it's especially good on like a really hot day, is you just take Dole Whip and Dole pineapple juice and you blend it. Nice. And that's all it is. But like occasionally I'll head out to Menchie's, find if they have Dole Whip, go like at the end of the day and just, get like a quart for like cheap, because they empty out all their yogurts that they don't use and they put that in the freezer in like quarts that you can buy. And if you get it when it's like, when the store's just open like regular, it's like twice as much money to buy like a quart of it. But if you get it like from the freezer, so like at the end of the day when they have to empty it out or something, it's like half the price. So go to Menchie's, check and see if they have the Dole Whip, go at the end of the day, fill up a pint, then buy some pineapple juice from the grocery store and make some blended Dole Whip floats. That's my pro tip for Dole Whip.
I'll remember that. I remember that. I already like planning like my next visit to Disney World, which won't be for like 5 years or something. Yeah.
Let's see here. What other shows are there? Cinema Relics is going to be, it's like props and costumes from movies. So it's going to be like a, docu-series where they talk about props and costumes from movies. So if you like behind the scenes movie stuff, basically that. They're doing something about the making of Frozen 2. That's going to be a documentary series. They're doing, Magic of the Animal Kingdom, which is, the Animal Kingdom also in Florida next to Disney World is like a giant zoo. And they're going to do some kind of thing that shows kind of behind the scenes of the zookeepers dealing with the animals and taking care of them and stuff. So if you're an animal lover. And then lastly, Ink and Paint, which is about the woman of Disney animation. So they're going to have a season of that coming year 1. And it's just a documentary series about the woman who worked at Disney Animation.
Nice.
And that's pretty much it. There's other stuff too.
I mean, for me, like the price and the content, like I already know
it's Marvel stuff.
It's the Marvel stuff. Also, like the Mandalorian looks good. I'm not going to lie.
Pedro Pascal.
That looks great. I'm gonna subscribe. I pretty much already decided. I was like, yeah, that's a good value proposition. And it's
go on.
I was gonna say, what's
Oh, I was gonna say one other thing we forgot to bring up is that they're gonna have the entirety of The Simpsons on there on day one.
That's right. That's another thing. I can watch like all the good Simpsons now. So again, it's a no-brainer for me. And I was gonna say, this is in stark contrast to Apple's announcement of their own service, which was more like a non-announcement. It's like, hey, we're coming out with the service. We don't need to tell you anything about it. It's like, okay.
And if you follow the news, you know that we're already heavily censoring everything.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's funny too, because Apple wants to, we don't know when Apple wants to launch this. They didn't even announce a launch date or a launch window. Nothing, really. I guess they just expected the people to be excited because we're Apple, we're doing something. It's got an Apple logo attached to it.
Go ahead and line up.
Be excited, right? Disney freaking dunked on Apple hardcore. That's how you make somebody say, I'm gonna buy this versus, oh, I don't care.
Yeah. And Apple's been teasing Apple TV for I think over 10 years now.
Right.
So that tells you how long it's been kind of a failed promise of theirs.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a failed service of theirs.
Yeah. So not excited for the Apple TV, but yeah, Disney Plus is looking pretty interesting and a good price point too. You can't undersell what a good price point means,
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you
especially offering an annual subscription around that and think about it. It's also around that time of year. It's a stocking stuffer. You could buy somebody a year of Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Stocking stuffer. I'm sure they'll have some gift card that is 1 year of it.
This is a service Disney could have easily gotten away with charging $15 a month for the service. Easily. Yeah. So it's a great
good news.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm sold, and I'm not easily sold on subscribing to more shit that I'm already subscribed to because it adds up. So,
so our next thing to discuss before we get to the Magicians is Game of Thrones is coming up we're recording this on Friday, so in 2 days. In 2 days' time, we'll have already watched the season premiere.
Sunday.
Compuela! It's like the Mexican radio commercials.
I was thinking about back in the day, those announcers, when they were they announced a monster truck show or a wrestling.
Yeah, they have a version of that it's on Mexican radio, especially I get maybe not there, but in Southern California for sure. And you always hear cinco, cinco, cinco.
Oh yeah. Yes. If you miss this, you better be dead or in jail. If you're in jail, break out.
Yeah. But what we're going to be talking about before we get into our Magicians discussion is we have some predictions for season 8. And so Will and I each made our own prediction. We have a list of quite a few characters. I believe it's 39 characters, or it's 38, and I left a blank spot for each of us.
More characters than is necessary.
Yeah. I'm also going to be posting a link to a PDF file of the form that Will and I use for this. So if you want to play along with us, you can go ahead and fill out this form yourself. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to assign points. So we're going to have a character's name, and then there's 4 different states you can give that character. And you can give them multiple states. So alive, dead, white, as in turned by a White Walker, and sitting upon the Iron Throne. Those are the 4 options.
You can give them all 4 if you want.
You couldn't give them all 4. Well, it would be a bad idea, because basically the way the points work is that you get a point for each one you get right, but you also get you lose a point for each one you get wrong. So if you mark alive and dead for every character, you just come out at 0 for your points. Which, who knows, that might be the winning number.
Yeah.
If everybody just wants
if everybody survives Game of Thrones.
There's no prize in this anyways. This is just for bragging rights.
Yeah, we don't have money for prizes. Don't expect that, please.
But yeah, so there's going to be, you can choose, here's an example. You could say, Sansa Stark, I think she's going to be dead, but I think she's going to come back as a white. So you can mark dead and white. If you get both of those right, you get 2 points for that. If she's dead but doesn't come back as a white, then you get 0 because you got 1 point, but you also lost 1 point. If she's alive, you get -2. So this is the way the point calculations work. And then sits upon the Iron Throne, of course, we're talking about the very end of the series. So if you put Cersei, because she's going to be on the Iron Throne during the first episode, that doesn't count. It's only at the very end of the series.
It's if that person's sitting on the Iron Throne at the end.
Yes.
Because obviously Cersei is sitting on the Iron Throne right now. It doesn't count.
Yeah. So after we do the season finale, after we do our discussion of it, Will and I are going to break down our predictions and see what our point totals are. I'll calculate those ahead of time, but we'll go over them again. And you can play along with us and see how you've ranked up against us with your predictions. But we're going to announce our predictions right now, what we think is coming. So let's start off. Sansa Stark. Will, what do you pick?
She's going to sit on the Iron Throne. And I'm going to say that that's a swerve because, like, nobody's expecting it, but it makes sense that it can go in that direction. Because
for that to happen, she has to be alive.
She has to be alive. Because I'm thinking, like, they've been, like, I'm thinking especially, like, last season, she's stepped into more of a leadership position. And I think, she's been through, like, a lot through the series, and I think it's made her stronger, and I think if any of the Starks are ready to sit on the Iron Throne, I think it's her, so.
I think she's gonna be alive. I don't think she's gonna sit the Iron Throne. Actually, I'll say this right now. I was gonna kind of save it to the end, but I'll say this right now. I don't think anyone's gonna sit the Iron Throne at the end. I think the Iron Throne's gonna be destroyed.
I just think if anybody's gonna sit on the Iron Throne, if it's not gonna be nobody, if it's gonna be somebody, I think she's most likely candidate. Because I think everybody's kind of expecting Jon Snow, or people are expecting Daenerys, or even Cersei. Those are the normal suspects. But I think the show writers are, gonna throw a sword. It's not gonna be anybody we're expecting. And so I think if you're looking at people who are not leading candidates, Sansa looks the best.
So Will says Sansa alive and sits here on throne. I say Sansa alive.
Okay.
Next up, Brandon Stark. I'll start with mine. I think Brandon Stark is going to be dead.
He's a tree.
I think he's going to.
Tree.
I think he's going to play a big part in the battle, and then it's going to basically wipe him out. Like, I almost have this idea straight up.
That would be anticlimactic, considering like what his character was supposed to be, and like where they were projecting him. He's supposed to be. I forgot, like the Watcher or whatever.
Yeah, I think he's going to do that. He's going to do that to a certain extent, and that's going to be it, and he'll die.
And he's going to be a tree. He's going to turn into a tree. That's his destiny.
So again, I say dead. Will says alive as a tree. That's just alive for this list, unless the tree's dead. But Will says the tree will be alive.
I was thinking of that. I was like, wait, what's the option for tree?
Next up is Arya Stark. I think she's going to be alive, and I think I mainly marked that just because I can't deal with the idea of her being dead. She's my favorite character. I can't stomach it.
I was gonna say, but the show likes to hurt you. The show likes to be painful sometimes.
But I can't root for it. I can't like place my bet on it.
I just going with not what I want. Like, this list isn't about what I want to happen. It's what I think will happen, and what I think will happen is she'll die.
You think she'll come back as a white? Do you have that on your list?
No, she's just dead. I don't. That would be
a girl is dead.
That would be mean to make her a white. That's like that rubbing salt in the wound. Like, it's enough that they kill her. Like, make her a White Walker. Or a white. That's just rubbing salt in the wound. Come on.
So Arya Stark, I see alive. Will says dead. Next up, Jon Snow / Aegon Targaryen, because that's his real name apparently.
Spoilers for people who aren't caught up.
Hey, we're talking about, we're talking about season 8 predictions. That's a given. So, Jon Snow, Aegon Targaryen, what do you say? Alive, dead, white, what?
I'm gonna say he's a white, because, I don't know, because that's a thing that can happen.
So you say dead and a white, I say dead. I don't think he's going to be a white though.
There's no logic to me saying he's a white other than,
somebody's got to be a white, right? I mean, they have the idea of resurrecting bodies, so somebody has to show up as a white.
Yeah, somebody has to.
Why not Jon?
And I think that'd be like that'd be one of the most crushing moments of the season, because like Jon gets turned into a white and then used against like the people he was fighting for. That would be heartbreaking, and this show is all about heartbreaking. So.
All right, so that's again Jon Snow. I say dead. Will says dead and a white. Next up, Daenerys Targaryen. I say dead.
I say dead. They're gonna kill her, but
not as a white for either of us.
No, I don't think like they're gonna do that. They already made her dragon a white. They don't have to make her one too.
All right. Next up is Tyrion Lannister. What do you say?
I said dead. I don't want him to be dead, but I always have like this feeling of dread like every season. Like this is a season they're gonna kill Tyrion, and it doesn't happen. But this is the last. I think it's gonna happen. I think he's had it coming.
Do you say white or just dead?
Just dead.
I think Tyrion's gonna live, and here's what I think's gonna happen, because I marked Jon Snow and Daenerys both as dead and Tyrion as alive. I think that they're gonna have a baby.
Oh, okay.
I think there's gonna be a bit of a time jump at some point in the series. Not a huge time jump, but a few, some months. And they're gonna have a baby. They're both gonna die, and Tyrion's gonna be like kind of the steward for the baby.
And the reason I say Tyrion's had it coming is because it seems like every season he ends up in mortal danger, and he finds some way out of it. And
you think he's going to challenge the Night King to trial by combat?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
And then he'll lose the trial by combat, but he'll be given a t-shirt that says, I lost trial by combat, and all I got was this t-shirt. But yeah, so Tyrion, you say dead, I say alive. Next up, Cersei Lannister. I'm saying dead. What do you say?
I'm saying white, but you didn't leave an option for White Walker. I think the Night King's gonna turn her into a White Walker, and she's gonna be his queen.
Oh, you say White Walker, not white.
Yeah, but you don't have that option. So on the thing. So So yeah,
you say alive.
Yeah, I got. If you can consider that alive, I guess. I don't know.
I think White Walkers are technically alive. Like whites are dead, but the Walkers are alive. I think.
You would say the Night King is actually alive?
Yes.
Okay, that's an interesting take. Okay, well I'll go with that then.
Okay, so you say she's alive and that she's going to become a walker. I say she's going to be killed. I think she has it coming.
She has it coming.
People are going to be very unhappy if she doesn't get what she has.
I can see, because with characters who are like that evil and that hateful, she's so evil, she's so hateful that sure, you would get gratification for seeing her killed, but if the Night King like didn't kill her and just like converted her and made her like his queen or something, and she continued to like be even more evil and hateful, that would certainly turn the knife a little more.
All right, Jaime Lannister, what do you say?
I say he lives.
I think he's gonna die. I think they foreshadowed it too much. Like all the I want to die in the arms of a woman I love stuff that he said.
You don't think that that's misdirection though? You don't?
No, not at all. Because I think Game of Thrones has actually done a good job at intentional foreshadowing that like sometimes seems obvious and ends up happening, but maybe in a way you don't expect. Like sure. I think the way he explained it, dying in the arms of a woman you love, it implied that it would be Cersei. But I think the way that they showed that happen, that him saying that implied Brienne.
Yeah, I think he's in love with Brienne.
Yeah, I think that's where it's headed. I think there's going to be another twist. I'm not kind of sure on what it is, and I think his death is going to be somehow connected to. I think he'll die a good death, but I think then his face will be used to kill Cersei. I think Arya's going to take Jaime's face.
Oh, that could happen. Yeah.
And I think they're going to play on that whole, we're going to think Jaime survived. Like, we're not going to see Jaime die. We're going to think he survived. And then we're going to see him at King's Landing. He's going to kill Cersei, and then we're going to find out it's Arya. And then we'll know that he died. And then we'll be given some other information, like a scene with Brienne or something. I don't know. That'll kind of fill in what happened.
Well, next.
Okay. Next up is Jorah Mormont.
I say he survives.
I say dead and a white.
I say he survives and he becomes Bruce Wayne.
Everything's connected.
Everything's connected. Absolutely.
Next up, Lyanna Little Bear Mormont. This is the little girl that proclaimed support for the King of the North.
Yeah.
And said, I only know one Warden of the North, and his name is Stark.
And I say she lives just because, she was awesome.
I think she's going to live as well.
Okay.
I think maybe Jorah will die protecting her because they're both.
That's reasonable.
Next up, Euron Greyjoy, one of the big villains.
He's dead.
Dead and White are just dead.
No, he's dead.
Yeah, I think he's dead too.
Because the White Walkers don't get him. Theon gets him.
Yeah, Theon's got to get him, or Yara, or the two together in a Captain America Winter Soldier versus Iron Man sort of way.
Right, exactly.
That brings us to Theon, though. Theon Greyjoy.
Theon kills Euron, but sometime after that, he's killed by the White Walkers, the Whites. He becomes a White.
I think he's gonna live. I think he's gonna have like an interesting redemption arc, and that's
he's gonna have a redemption arc. He's gonna be redeemed, and then he's gonna die.
I think he's still gonna live. I think that it's gonna play into it. Next up, the last of the Greyjoys, Yara.
I think she survives.
I think she survives as well. I think both the Greyjoy siblings survive.
Okay.
I'm optimistic about the horrible pirates.
You are optimistic about the horrible pirates, yes.
Next up, Sandor the Hound Clegane.
I think he lives.
I think he's gonna die.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
I'll explain my reasoning when we get to the next one too, which is Gregor the Mountain Clegane.
He's dead.
I think he's going to be dead as well. I think they're going to kill each other.
Oh, okay.
I think the Hound will win.
A double KO.
No, I think the Hound will win, but then he'll succumb to his wounds.
Oh, right. It is going to be a battle. It is going to be one hell of a battle. I cannot wait to see it.
Clegane Bowl.
If it doesn't happen, for some reason, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be like, what the fuck?
Next up, Lord Varys, the spider.
See, he lives because he is clever and he's gonna fuck off somewhere as soon as like all the White Walkers pour in. He's just gonna fuck off to some island somewhere, be like, peace bitches.
I think he's gonna try.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna try to fuck off somewhere, and in the process he's gonna die. I think he's gonna have that moment where he's like, he does that fuck all this, peace out bitches moment, but then he's gonna die.
Oh, right.
Like, he's not gonna die bravely, he's gonna die like in cowardice. And part of the reason why I think that's going to be is because there's a moment in season 7 when Melisandre is talking to him, and he's basically threatening her, saying like, well, don't ever come back to Westeros. And she says, I have to return one last time. And he's kind of like, but, and she stops him and says, I have to die in this strange land, same as you.
Oh, right.
So I think she's seen a vision of both of their deaths.
But then we also know, like, her visions aren't 100% reliable.
Yeah. I think she gets killed by Arya because she had a weird moment when she met Arya.
Yeah.
And she talked about like, how she made this weird kind of poetic comment about her eyes are open, but she closes so many eyes or something, meaning like she kills them. And then right after that, she had kind of like this like, holy shit, like reaction, like on her face, like she just saw her own death,
Right.
So I think she saw her death. She knows it's coming and she knows there's nothing she can do about it because it's basically what her lord wants or whatever. And,
sure.
And I think in there somewhere, she also saw the spider's death. So that's my prediction on that. Next up, Gendry Waters. Most people just know as Gendry, Robert's bastard.
I think he becomes a White.
You think he dies and becomes a White?
Yeah.
I think he is going to be alive.
Oh, nope, I said dead. Never mind. He's gonna be dead.
Dead, but not a White.
Yeah, dead, but not a White.
Yeah, I think he's gonna survive. I think he's gonna survive and he's gonna be named.
Yeah, I mean,
he's gonna get his name. He's gonna get Baratheon.
Yeah, could happen. I mean, it could go either way. I mean, I don't have any, like a lot of these characters, I don't have like strong predictions, like there are a few that like, there are some things like that I think should happen or has to happen, but a lot of these aren't really strong predictions, so they could go either way.
Yeah. Next up, we have Edison Tolet. That is Ed of the Night's Watch. It's basically, besides Sam, it's Jon's like last remaining friend from the Night's Watch.
And I predicted he becomes a White because somebody from the Night Watch is going to be a White. I mean, they're on the front lines.
Yeah.
So he's on the front lines. So he's one of the top candidates for, you're going to be a White.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he's at Castle Black, and the Army of the Dead attacked Eastwatch by the Sea.
Okay.
So he's like in a different area of the wall.
He's still becoming a white.
I think he's gonna live. Okay, next up is Beric Dondarrion, who's often been resurrected by Thoros of Myr, but Thoros of Myr died in season 7.
Yeah,
so his resurrection card's kind of gone. His dance card's dead.
Beric is out of lives. He's out of lives, so he's dead.
See, I think he's dead, but I think he's going to come back as a white, and I think it's just because of numbers, because he's died 6 times, and I think that it's going to be lucky number 7, he's going to be a white.
Oh.
Unlucky number 7.
Unlucky number 7.
What a big fuck you to his character there, right? Like, he keeps getting resurrected all these times. Keeps becoming less and less of himself. Resurrected one final time as an ice zombie.
Yeah, that would be a big fuck you to his character.
Next up is Tormund Giantsbane.
He lives just because he's awesome.
I put the same thing. I'm like, we need at least one of the big wildling characters to live, and he's like the last one.
Yeah, exactly.
Bronn, the sellsword.
I predict Bronn's gonna die.
I think so too.
Possibly trying to save Jaime.
Could be. Do you think he's gonna be a white though?
No.
Neither do I. I think he's gonna die, but not become a white. He's gonna die through some other treachery. Next up is Grey Worm.
I predicted he becomes a white fighting the White Walkers.
Same. Exactly the same. I think he's gonna die and become a white.
Yeah.
Missandei, who's Grey Worm's girlfriend, basically.
I predicted she lives. At least, I think at least one of Daenerys' entourage has to live, so it's her.
I think she's gonna die too. I think she's gonna die and also become a white, and they're gonna be reunited as whites. I seriously, I think there'll be a scene where, like, I think we'll see them both die. I think we'll see maybe Grey Worm turn into a white, but maybe not Missandei. But then I think at some point Daenerys is gonna witness, like, 2 whites approaching her, and it's gonna be Grey Worm and Missandei.
Alright, let's knock these next 2 out real quick. So Brienne and Podrick.
I think Brienne's alive.
I think Brienne and Podrick die, possibly together, because Podrick's always at her side.
I think Brienne will live. I think Podrick will die and become a white.
Okay.
Davos Seaworth?
I predicted he survived.
Same. Qyburn. This is Cersei's maester, or former maester, I should say.
I predict he becomes a white.
I think he's just gonna die. Not be a white, but just die.
Fair.
Samwell Tarly?
He lives. Samwell's gonna live. Come on.
I think Sam, Gilly, and Baby Sam are all gonna get away.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
They're all gonna survive. Melisandre
dies. Possibly becomes a white. I have her becoming a white. So I'm 50-50 on her becoming a white, but I'm pretty much 90%, of her dying.
She seemed to say that she was going to return to Westeros to die, so I think we're going to see that. I don't think she's going to be a white.
Okay.
I think it's fitting for her to die in fire.
Oh, you know what? That's correct. That makes more sense.
And then Mira Reed. Mira Reed, we last saw basically disheartened that Bran was basically like a robot now.
I predict
he had like no emotions.
I predict she dies.
I mean, we might not even see her again.
Yeah, but, she might not even show up at all.
Yeah, but I think she's gonna live.
Speaking of people who might not even show up, Hot Pie. Who knows? But
what are you talking about? He's the real hero of the series.
Yeah, he's gonna sit on the Iron Throne.
I think Hot Pie's gonna live too.
I predict he becomes a white.
Dead and white. I say he's gonna live, and it's gonna be a message to the fact that so many people from these big noble houses are gonna die, but the common folk, a lot of them are gonna live.
So now we come to the dragons, the two living dragons. And I predict, and I don't have like a solid preference for which one, but my main prediction is one is gonna die, and then there's gonna be one left alive at the end of it. So I picked.
For your notes, I think you put Drogon would be a white.
Yeah, Drogon. No, not white. Drogon's just gonna die. There's already a dragon white.
Oh, that's right. Drogon's gonna die. Rhaegal's gonna live.
Yeah.
I think they're both gonna die. I think the dragons are wiped out. I think there might be dragon eggs. I think it might at the end of the series might end with dragon eggs because George R. R. Martin said that the dragons are they can change gender.
I was gonna say this series is not gonna end with dragons becoming extinct again.
No, I think these dragons are gonna die, and there's gonna be dragon eggs. And that goes along with my prediction that Tyrion's going to be raising Jon and Daenerys' child, and they'll both be dead. And he'll be raising that child, and he'll have dragon eggs.
And I predicted both the direwolves are going to die because this show has not been friendly to direwolves. They've been systematically killing off all the direwolves throughout the entire series. So it'd be optimistic to have an ending where one of the direwolves lives. I would love to see one of the direwolves make it through the series. The way this show it just has shit on them constantly, but I don't expect that to end. So I predict one of the ghosts is going to become a white and Nymeria is going to die.
I think Ghost is going to die, but not become a white.
Okay, I predict Ghost is going to be a white because because we have a dragon white that the dragons belong to Daenerys. She is the fire, and then the other like main like faction is and then like there's Jon Snow, who is a Stark and a Targaryen, and the Starks things are direwolves. There's no white direwolves, so you have to add a direwolf to his dragon so that he has a Stark and a Targaryen symbol in his army.
See, I think you're right that we're going to see a direwolf white. I don't think it's going to be Ghost or Nymeria, though. I think it's going to be Summer, who we saw get killed by whites in the States.
Okay. I didn't even.
We don't have Summer on the list because Summer's already dead.
Yeah, well, I didn't think about that. Well, I thought it would be Ghost because Ghost specifically belongs to Jon Snow, just like the dragon specifically belonged to Daenerys.
Yeah, I think Ghost is going to die, and I think Nymeria is going to live.
Okay.
Because Nymeria got away from the Starks. Arya chased it away. It formed the super pack of wolves. And I think Nymeria survives. I think that's part of it, like broken association with the Starks.
I would love for you to be correct.
Next up, the Night's King.
I think the Night's King ends up there. I think they vanquished the Night's King at the end of it.
I don't think he's gonna live and sit the Iron Throne.
No.
I think he's gonna die as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. I know this show loves to be mean, but that would be quite the fuck you to everybody who has followed this show for all these seasons, if that was the ending.
And then lastly, we have a write-in category. You can write in a name of any character living or dead, because remember, it's not just if they're alive or dead, it's also if they're white. So if they weren't if they weren't burned, then they could come back as a white. Ned Stark's bones are under Winterfell. He wasn't burned. Mm-hmm. He could come back as a white, So my pick for my write-in is Hodor, who I think we're going to see as a white.
Hodor.
Because that's going to be the big heartbreaking moment, because we saw him die getting attacked by whites.
Is that going to be a heartbreaking moment, or is it's going to be hilarious seeing a zombie going, Hodor?
I don't think he'll say anything. I think we'll just see him. And it'll be sad. I think you need that big, I think that's going to be I think that might be what leads to Bran Stark dying. I think he'll be doing really well. He'll be fighting the Night's King using, his mind and using everything, and then he'll see Hodor. And that'll be it.
So I predicted, and this is kind of out there, but for anybody who's not familiar with the novels, in the novels they have a character named Lady Stoneheart. And what Lady Stoneheart is, it's a resurrected Catelyn Stark. She's almost like a zombie, basically.
She's brought back in the same way Jon and Beric Dondarrion were, though.
Okay. I don't know much about this other than apparently she's resurrected and she's on a quest for revenge. They chose not to put this storyline into the show, so it's just a storyline that only exists in the books. But I thought if they want to kind of do a call out to it, they could have her come back as a white.
Yeah, so not actually Lady Stoneheart, but just kind of a play on the idea of Lady Stoneheart.
Right, exactly.
Well, that's it. That's our predictions for season 8 of Game of Thrones. We hope that you guys played along and tune in after the season finale or series finale podcast for Game of Thrones, in which case we'll tally up all of our scores and see how we did. And you can see how you did against us point-wise as well. But that leaves us to our last topic, which is The Magicians, Season 4, Episode 12, the penultimate of the season, titled The Secret Sea. So we got a few different kind of storylines going on here. We pick up where we left off with Katie and Zelda in the poison room. Katie throws up the bugs. That's the last of her protection.
They're stuck in there without protection, and they run into the most unlikely of characters. They run into not Martin Short, the author of the Fillory novels,
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
They run into him. If we remember, Alice had tricked him into the poison room the last time we saw them. But he managed to survive, and he offers to share with them his method to survive.
Which, he has them eating moss, which apparently survives in the poison room, except it does nothing because that's not how he's surviving.
He's surviving without even him knowing. He thinks this is how he survived. But how he's really surviving is that Martin cast a spell on him, Martin the Beast, a spell on him that basically kept him from aging or dying so that he could torture him, endlessly.
Yeah, so he could torture him to his heart's content.
Basically. So he has this, singular state. So he doesn't age, he doesn't change from the state, so that he can torture him and he's just back to normal, and he can torture him again and he's back to normal. And, that's what the Beast wanted to do to him, and as a side effect of that, he's surviving. But that is bad news for Zelda and Katie.
Because, they're not surviving.
Who start to not do too well. They start to develop lesions on their skin, and things aren't looking good for them.
Right.
But in all of this, Zelda makes a comment kind of offhand that really ends up pissing Katie off.
Well, she reveals that there's a cure.
Yes. A cure that she denied existed when Penny was dying.
Yeah. So basically, so Katie is pissed off at Zelda because there was a cure this whole time, and when Penny was dying, Zelda withheld it.
Yeah. And so Katie is now kind of in suicidal mode. She's just kind of Zelda goes off to kind of get the cure. Penny 23 is there, and he's like, well, why don't you go with her to get the cure? You're not doing well, and you can't wait for her to bring it back. We need to go with her. And she keeps being kind of put off or offish about it. And, he kind of puts together, oh shit, you want to die. You want this to die. You want this to end. And he's upset about that.
Yeah, he's upset about that shit. Well, she's like, you want to die and end up with Penny 23 in the afterlife.
Penny 40, the other one. No, it's dead.
I get them backwards. I hate this. Penny 40 in the afterlife, and she says why would that be so bad? That wouldn't be so bad.
Which now makes me think that I was wrong when I thought that it was going to be Katie that Penny sees.
Right, yeah.
Just because it's too obvious now.
Yeah, it's too obvious now.
So there's going to be some twist. She's going to survive, and it's somebody else who dies that he ends up seeing. Maybe Penny 23.
Maybe.
But
that would leave the show penniless.
Meanwhile, in Fillory, we had seen before where Fen and Josh had found a reservoir of magic, which is what the episode's titled after, The Secret Sea. And they found this reservoir of magic. Then we got some bunnies saying, dropping in on Quentin and everybody saying, help, found magic, help, in Beaver from Breaking Bad's voice again. And, then they're like, found magic where? You don't have any more details or something. And then it's another bunny drops out. Oh, sorry. Then gives the extra details, which is just typical magician's humor. I love it. But now they know there's this big reservoir of magic, but there's a curse along with it. And Fen is sitting there holding a fishbowl with a fish in it, who she reveals to be Josh, who has been turned into something called a Fillory dying fish. And it's a fish that needs constant eye contact or it starts dying.
Yes. Because this water reservoir of magic has this protection spell on it. Josh is a fish, and so he needs constant watch or else he'll die.
Fen ends up convincing Margot to take on this task. Margot's she doesn't want to do it at first because she wants to be involved in their plans for Elliot, but Fen kind of ends up convincing her that, she needs to
It turns out she is the best person for the job of keeping Josh alive.
They have a bond, which means he recovers better under her watch. She takes him to this magical vet to try to get some advice on how to kind of help him. He doesn't really have a good solution.
He doesn't have a cure
for the magic, but he does figure something out, which is that she has that fairy.
He figures out a way for her to keep her eye on Josh without having to literally keep her eye on
looking for hours.
So where she can actually do other things and not have to worry about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he basically says, you can take your fairy. He's all, have you ever tried popping out your eye? And she's like, why would I do that? And he like hits her on the back of the head and her eye pops out. And she's like, don't ever touch me again.
Yeah, don't ever touch me again.
But it ends up being beneficial. And then she's like, but what about this? Like, now I got a missing eye. And he's like, ooh, I got that covered too. He happens to have a pirate-themed eye patch.
Yes. She's like, seriously? A pirate-themed eye patch? And through this ordeal though, like we finally see not so much of a revelation, but like Margot finally admitting to herself that she is in love with Josh.
Which is great because the next time we see them, when she's like watching the fish, when Quentin and I think it's Quentin and Alice like approach her and see her, she's like baking the fish bread. Because Josh is like such a foodie that they're like,
well it's Alice who gets her to admit it, right? Because she doesn't want to admit it because she has this idea of her identity and her personality, her identity being somebody who
a badass bitch
who can't experience love because that's weakness, you know. And Alice basically says, look, you can be in love with somebody and still be a badass bitch, you know? they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after she hears that, she's finally able to admit it.
While this is happening, Quentin and Alice end up talking to Christopher Plummer about how to get through this curse at the reservoir, how to undo the curse on the fish, Josh, but also how to be able to access the power that's being blocked off from them in this in-this-reservoir. And Christopher Plummer ends up telling him about this garden that, you know, if you truly love Fillory, this flower will bloom there. And Quentin is the obvious choice for somebody who truly loves Fillory, except that he's had such a rough go recently that, like, you know, he's seen so many people he loves die. He's had all these horrific things happen.
He doesn't really have any love for Fillory left.
Yes, he loved Fillory, but like it's been so tragic, like everything that's happened on him, that he doesn't have it anymore. Christopher Plummer reveals that this was exactly the same case for Martin, who had the same situation, because Martin also had horrific things happen to him, largely at the hands of Christopher Plummer.
I love the part where Christopher Plummer notices Quentin's like first edition Fillory book, and then he signs it and says, "There, now it's more valuable." And Quentin is just like, thanks. You know,
yeah, it's kind of like,
yeah.
Just completely unmoved.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I didn't want that.
But yeah, so this is like a connection between Quentin and Martin in that both of them loved Fillory and now have lost that love for Fillory, and by doing so have lost their ability to access this reservoir of magic that should have been available to them.
Right.
Because it's like the curse is like perfect to them. It's love for Fillory is what it's based on. Quentin ends up struggling with this, trying to find a way to reignite his love for Fillory. And it seems like the way he's able to do it is by loving the idea of Fillory more than Fillory itself.
Right.
And what the idea of Fillory meant to him as a kid, you know?
Right.
So it's more like what Fillory isn't, but what he thought it was.
He gets to work out some issues in front of this flower.
Yeah. He kind of has like a little breakdown about like, you know, how much Fillory means to him and how much that's not actually true.
Right. Like he says, you know, he expected Fillory to save him, and it didn't. And then he's like, okay, when you want something so much, when you think something's going to save you, and then it doesn't, what do you do then? You know, that's how much it meant to him.
Yes. So, that is, he's able to do that. The flower blooms. They give a leaf from the flower to Margot to give to Josh. We don't see what happens with that. Meanwhile, Alice and Quentin imbibe in this leaf and just start gulping down from this reservoir.
Yeah.
And we see their eyes kind of glow with power, similar to like when they, you know, took in, was it Ember's semen? to gain some of his magic. And so they're gulping down magic from this reservoir to use against not Elliot and his sister, who we should kind of segue to.
I was going to say, we should really get to that now because, so as we remember last episode, not Elliot, the monster, kidnapped Julia to be a vessel for his sister. So we cut to Julia, she's being held captive, and Elliot has his sister in her current dying vessel, and he's going to transfer her to Julia. Julia calls on the goddess that was protecting her.
Yes, the one the son of this goddess is the one that raped Julia.
Yeah.
And it's been part of the storyline, this goddess that tried to turn Julia into a goddess. And so Julia is finally able to successfully summon her in this instance, and she's kind of holding time back, like holding the monster back, but clearly struggling in doing so. Yeah. And she's trying to tell Julia, to get out. We don't have time for this. Julia's talking to her.
Julia's like questioning her, like trying to, grill her, for all her grievances. And she's like, we literally do not have time for this. Just leave.
Yeah. And she, in all of that, she does give some answers, though. It's the idea that Julia has to make a choice. Like it's a test. Her kind of losing her goddess powers, but being kind of in this middle ground is kind of a test to choose either to be a goddess or to be human. And where Julia thought that, so what's the right answer, the wrong answer? And this goddess is basically like, it doesn't matter what the answer is. It matters what you choose.
Julia's trying to get her to tell her what to choose,
Yeah. And the goddess is saying the point is that you choose.
Right.
Not what you choose. And, but she's not able to hold it back anymore, and Julia is taken over by Not Elliot's sister.
Yeah. Who is a lot meaner than Not Elliot, by the way.
Yeah, no bonds to humanity.
Yeah.
And so she immediately murders this goddess and that was trying to hold her back. And then Elliot and her kind of have a little conversation as they're walking around the city, where they're talking about she's kind of acting kind of disappointed in him for, finding aspects of humanity that he loves, even though he was killing so willy-nilly. The fact that he has some aspects of humanity that he liked, she's kind of looking at as
she calls him too soft,
yeah. And she's like, you've been around doing this all the time. All I've wanted is revenge. And he's like, well, I already killed them all. Yeah. I killed all the gods.
I already killed revenge. There's nothing else we need to do, because to him, he's completed his mission. He's got his sister back, it's over. And she's like, no, it's not over until we kill the real gods,
the people who put us here.
Who are like the actual gods, the people we've been
old gods, yes.
Yeah, the old gods. Because the people we've been calling gods were actually librarians who made themselves gods.
Yes. And then if you think back 2 seasons ago, the actual gods, people like Ember and Umber, who were not librarians, and some of the other gods that were not librarians that existed. There was that 2 seasons ago when Elliot had killed, Elliot had been involved in the deaths of both Ember and Umber, killing one of them. And Alice was like, that was so stupid. Gods have parents, and they're, to us, we're like insects. And that was the moment in which magic was turned off 2 seasons ago.
Right.
They sent Mario to shut off magic. And that's basically who they're talking about when they talk about their parents and the ones that put them there, the old gods. They're talking about these entities that shut off.
So Not Elliot says, how do we kill these gods? How do you kill a thought?
Like a thought entity, I think he called it.
He's
like, where do you even stand?
Yeah. No, he says, where do you even stab?
Oh, okay.
He says, where do you even stab? And then, Not Julia now. So, she replies that there is a way to get at them, to get to their realm. There's a scroll in the, poison room in the library.
The librarians don't even know what they have.
Yeah.
But it's access to this realm of these older gods. And she's saying that in this realm, when you can actually make contact with these older gods, they're fragile.
Yeah, they're vulnerable.
Yes. And so they go to the poison room. So we're seeing a lot of the poison room in this episode.
Yeah, we are.
And they get the scroll, and in doing so, they're just murdering librarians left and right.
Yeah, they're murdering librarians left and right. She finally reaches the cell. Oh yeah, we didn't mention this. So there was a point when Zelda and and then we're in the poison room, that Dean Fogg actually launched a rescue mission himself.
Can we just jump to the best part of that, which was when he was announcing his plans or something, and he gave this book to Todd.
Oh,
and he said, try not to Todd this up.
Yeah, try not to Todd this up. And Todd's just like, okay, I'll try not to be myself.
And then almost drops the book.
So, like Todd was like legit offended.
But it was funny, we get to see like Dean Fogg's suit, like the purpose of his suit, which he has all sorts of kind of cool magical contraptions on.
Yes, he uses his like a clip off of his suit to disable like one of the librarians. Like he
like sends them away.
Yeah, sends them away. And then like he almost gets out of there, but then the librarians, that guy comes back and they capture him and they imprison him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in prison in the library. So then when Not Julia ends up finding him, and she's about to kill him when Quentin and Alice, all powered up, show up to confront Not Elliot and Not Julia. And
in their own awkward way.
Because they look pretty dorky, like Quentin's got the axes and everything.
He's like, hey, you gods people, come out here.
Come out here. And like Not Julia says, oh, that's just adorable, Yeah. And
that's how the episode ends.
Yeah,
we on a cliffhanger for the season finale.
For a season finale, yep.
But yeah, exciting stuff. I've seen like a marked improvement in the season in the last two episodes. Last week's episode and this episode. I thought the musical episode was a bit of a down note, like it wasn't that good. But
right.
Man, the episode before that really improved, and then this episode was just great.
I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait for the finale now. I'm looking forward to that.
And that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking next week about the finale for The Magicians and also the season premiere of Game of Thrones. So, a great magical podcast.
Yes!
Coming up.
It's a great magical podcast.
But that brings us to the end with only one thing left to do, and that's to talk about what's coming up in the week ahead. So today, Friday, April 12th, Diablo Guardian came to Amazon Prime, huge in France on Netflix, and special on Netflix. On Sunday, April 14th, the show we've all been waiting for, Les Miserables, the miniseries, comes to PBS. And a little-known show called Game of Thrones comes to HBO.
Sure.
Then on Monday, April 15th, No Good Nick comes to Netflix. On Tuesday, April 16th, Bless This Mess comes to ABC. On Thursday, April 18th, My First Love, two firsts in there, comes to Netflix. And lastly, on Friday, April 19th, Ryakuma and Kaoru comes to Netflix. Cuckoo comes to Netflix again for its fourth season, or maybe fifth, I'm not sure. Samantha comes to Netflix. Rami to Hulu, and Bosch to Amazon Prime.
Nice.
So that's it. As I said, next week we're going to be talking about The Magicians and the season premiere of Game of Thrones. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, as well as our site, thetotalscreen.com. You can subscribe to this podcast through any major podcast client like iTunes or Pocket Cast. And the entire backlog of our podcast is available on our YouTube channel. All of the links to that are on our website, thetotalscreen.com. Also, make sure to check out the container story for this podcast. So the Weekly Set Podcast episode 202. Check out the container story on the main site for it to find the PDF file for our Game of Thrones predictions. So you can, print it out and add your own takes, your own check marks, and count up your score along with us as the season commences. So, until next week, thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
If you would like to reach out to us and make a comment, send an email to contact@thetotalscreen.com. Stay tuned to The Total Screen for the very best